Okay, guys. Today what we're going to be working on, we've been solving equations. Now what we're going to be working on is what they call literal equations. So you see, you look at this thing and there's a whole bunch of letters here. Okay, so that's telling us make sure that we solve for the indicated variable. Sometimes there'll be some problems where they'll just tell you, all right, all of these solve for y or solve for x. And problems like this, you'll see the problem, it starts there and it goes to those, whatever it's called, semicolon or whatever the stupid thing is called. All right, not an English teacher. So what do they want us to solve for? They want us to solve for y. Okay, so when I do this, since I'm solving for y, I'm looking for the variable they want us to solve for. Since they want us to solve for y, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, there's one there, there's one there. You already know all the steps that you're supposed to do. Okay, I don't care that there's a bunch of variables here, you already know what to do. So in this case, they want us to solve for y. Okay, so we're going to solve for y. All right, we know where y is. What do we always do? We always move the smaller variable, whatever we're solving for. Since we're solving for y, I'm going to subtract that 2y from both sides. You notice I'm keeping things together, all right, like terms together. So then drag that 2x down. 6 minus 2 gives me 4y is equal to w minus 2v. All right, so again, they're still telling me to solve for y. All right, here's y right there. Well, what do I have to get rid of? I have to get rid of whatever's on the same side. All right, whatever's on the same side of that equal sign. So what am I going to get rid of? I'm going to get rid of that 2x. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that 2x there. So how do I get rid of that 2x? I'm going to subtract 2x. Well, if you look over here on this side, there's no like term. All right, there's no like term for it. So what you're going to do is just make a new column for it. All right, you make a new column for it. You notice I put it way off to the right. There's no other x's, so I'm going to just put it off to the right. And then subtract, just like you've always done. All right, so 2x minus 2x is gone. 4y is equal to w minus 2v minus 2x. Now, technically, all of these variables here, all those variables, they should be in alphabetical order. Okay, they should be in alphabetical order. Some people don't make a big deal about that. Okay, but just know that they should be in alphabetical order. So, we could technically rewrite this and say 4y is equal to, and if I know my ABDs good, all right. Um, well, wait, are they already? Ah, screw it. We're done. All right. So, um, so what was I doing? I got all distracted here. Sorry, guys. All right. So now I need to get y by itself. All right. I'm so worried about putting stuff in alphabetical order like you're supposed to. Screw that. We'll just leave it as is. All right, and then I want to divide everything by 4. All right, because I need to get y by itself. So y is equal to w minus 2v minus 2x all over 4. And now, is y by itself? Yes, we got y by itself. Did we do everything mathematically correct? Yes, we did. Okay, so that's how you solve these literal equations. All right, now let's look at another one. Okay, so again, we're verifying, we're looking for, all right, what do they want us to solve for? We want to solve for x. All right, well, there's x. There's no other x anywhere. Okay, so there's no other x anywhere. Now, initially, most students' first thought is, oh, I want to distribute. Well, if you do that, now you're going to go from 1x to having 2x's. Not, you're just making more work for yourself. All right, so if you stop and think for a second, stop and think about that for a second. What does distributive property mean? Distributive property means to multiply. Well, since I'm solving for x, how do I undo multiplication? I'm going to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2n plus 4p. All right, divide both sides by that. So on the right side, what do we have happen? 2n plus 4p and 2n plus 4p, they cancel each other out. So actually, on the right side of the equal sign, I'm just left with 8x because something divided by itself, it gives me 1. All right, so all that crap just gave me 1. Now, I look over here, 12z over 2n plus 4p. The only thing we have to be careful with here is I have to look at those numbers, okay? I have to look at those numbers there. Well, what are you noticing with those numbers? I can divide them all by 2. They're all multiples of 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of write this up here in green. All right. I'm going to divide all by 2 because they're all multiples of 2. So 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6z over 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1n. 4 divided by that 2, I'm going to have 2p. All right, so I have 2p is equal to 8x. Now, what did they tell us to solve for? We're solving for x. So I need to get x by itself over here on the right side. All right, I need to get x by itself. Well, initially we would say, oh, let's just divide by 8. Well, if I divide by 8 like that, oh, holy crap. Now I got a really ugly problem on my hands. All right, on the left side, I have what they call a complex fraction. And you know what? I don't want to get into all that mess. So I still need to get x to be 1 in front. All right, I need to have a 1 in front of an x. So the way we can do it is we can think about multiplying by its reciprocal. Anytime you multiply a number by its reciprocal, think about it. We always get 1. All right. So think about 2/3. The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. And how when you multiply straight across, all right, what do we end up with? 6 over 6. We end up with 1. So that's what we want. We always want to multiply by the reciprocal, okay? So I'm going to multiply both sides by 1 over 8. Well, 8 times 1 over 8 just gives me x, all right? Because 8 times 1 over 8, and if you don't believe me, grab your calculators. Now, how do I multiply over here? I'm multiplying straight across. So 1 times 6z, that's easy enough. Now this 8, all right, this 8 that's sitting here, I have to distribute it. I have to distribute it to both the n and the 2p. So when I do that, 8 times n and then 8 times 2p. So plus 16p. Well, here we go one more time. All right, one more time. I look at those numbers. All right, I always have to keep those numbers in mind. What are you noticing? Well, the thing that you should be noticing is you can divide them all by 2 again. You can divide all of these by 2. 6, 8, and 16. You can divide them all by 2. Okay, so when we divide that by 2, we end up with 3z over 4n plus 8p is equal to x. All right, so you always have to be careful of, are you simplifying everything? Okay, all right, one more. All right, one more, last one. So what am I solving for here? I'm solving for y. Well, in this case, I look at it and I see y is right there. This time, the little difference here is now y is buried in between those parentheses. All right, it's sort of trapped. It's sort of trapped. So before up here, when I told you not to distribute, all right, right here, I told you don't distribute, because now you're going to make more x's. Well, over here, you have no choice but to distribute because that y is trapped. Okay, so let's distribute. So negative 2x times 4y, we end up with negative 8xy. And then distribute one more time. We multiply one more time. Negative 2x times 5 gives us negative 10x. All right. Now let's distribute the other side. So 7 times negative 3x gives me negative 21x. Oh, sorry, I forgot to draw the little stupid arrow. All right. Now we distribute that 7 to the 1 plus 7. Well, what did we say we were solving for? We're solving for y. And you notice there, we only have one y. All right. So it's no longer trapped. So what are we going to do? All right. What are we going to do? Well, here's y. Y is on the left side of the equal sign. So I have to get rid of everything that's on the left side of the equal sign. So the very first thing I'm going to get rid of, I'm going to get rid of that negative 10x by adding 10x. Well, I actually do have a like term there. So I'm going to write it underneath that. Plus 10x. All right. Sometimes you have like terms, sometimes you don't. All right. Let's add straight down. So negative 8xy, those cancel, is equal to negative 11x plus 7. Now, what happens right here? All right. What's happening right here? We have negative 8xy. And I told you guys before, people in math are lazy. All right. If I was a good math teacher, I would read this as negative 8 times x times y. Yeah, but we're all lazy. We just say negative 8xy. Whenever you have numbers and letters like this next to each other, that coefficient and variables next to each other, you're multiplying. So what do I want to leave behind? I want to leave that y behind. So what do I have to get rid of? I'm going to get rid of the negative 8x by dividing, because negative 8 divided by negative 8, all right, let me pick a different color here. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 cancels. X divided by x cancels. So what am I left with? I'm left with y is equal to. Now I'm looking over here. I have negative 11. I have 7. I have negative 8. There's nothing I can divide out of all of those. So I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to leave it just as is. Now, technically, it's not incorrect, but it's kind of frowned upon to leave it like this, because you never want to leave negative kind of sitting out in front like that. So all we're going to do is we're going to rewrite it. I'm going to say, let's say we're going to make this as 11x minus 7 over positive 8x. All right. If you want to think about it, what the math behind it is, we factored out a negative 1. All right, we factored out a negative 1 from the numerator and the denominator, and then negative 1 divided by negative 1 cancel. I don't want to get complicated with it, but hopefully you guys can see what to do. Okay. All right. So hopefully this helps, guys.